Throughout my life, I've been using one very specific strategy to kill the old version of myself and each year be reborn as a new and improved version. And I'm going to teach you how to do it, how to kill your current self so that you can be reborn like a phoenix to be a great man. Now, these were all previous versions of me. A little smoking Jack, a little drinking Jack. I still have a drink every now and again, but he used to drink a lot. He was a bottle of wine a night kind of guy. Not good for your health. Not good for your skin either. This one, he was a real monkey. I'm not going to tell you what he was up to, but it wasn't good. And there was a sales version of me. There's been many, many versions of me. And there's actually a practice. I recently found out that it's actually an ancient Japanese practice. But we'll get into that in a minute. But most men are stuck living as a faded version of who they could be, because they're too scared to kill the man that they are today, to get rid of him, because that's all you know. And it's that comfort that keeps people small, that stops you from evolving in your life. And that's why I'll really define this point. These men were all killed in action. Like the typical military term, killed in action. They were killed through action. A large piece, a very substantial action, killed each of these characters and led way to a new character, a new and improved version of myself. That's how I've managed to grow and grow and grow and get to where I am in life, was by doing this practice. Never become too attached to a version of yourself and your way of thinking. Never become too attached to who you are now. The minute you stop growing, you're dying as a man. We get the most fulfillment in life from becoming better, from continuous self-improvement, from the acceleration, not from where we get to. I can guarantee you could do the biggest month in business and it will feel great getting there and working hard and doing the biggest month in business. But as soon as it's done and you've got the result, if you let your foot off the gas, if you just slack and coast as that person without thinking you can grow anymore, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you just won't be fulfilled like that. We are fulfilled through the acceleration phase of life. And to think you're in your final form, to think you can't learn anything or become anything more is death. That is death as a man. You'll just live out your years dead. There will be no life in your years without that. All those versions of me died so that they could become this version of me. A version of me with a far better physique, with way more money, way more experience, that lived around the world, surrounded by beautiful women. And the concept that I use to rebirth myself each year is actually called misogi. And it's a Japanese concept of purifying the mind, body and spirit through mental and physical challenge. And it is the art of one challenge, picking one challenge a year, so big, so difficult for the current version of yourself, that completing that challenge completely rewires the way your brain works and the way you think of yourself. It's essentially one challenge to rule them all. You pick one massive challenge per year, and I'm going to run you through how you do that and actually why this works for your brain and becoming a new character. The reason why this works is your self-perception shapes who you are in your life. Bear with me here. So your current self is made up of your personality, your losses, your wins, your ego, all the things you know and have done in your life. And from that current self, from all these inputs, from all the things you do, from the things that you've been good at or bad at along your life, the things people have said or not said, the praise you've received, the praise you hadn't, the way your parents looked after you, the way they didn't look after you, the things you've done, mistakes you've made, all of that makes you who you are. And it actually makes your self-perception, your confidence and your vision for your life. You're trained by these inputs. They build your reality. It's not actually reality. It's your perception of reality, but that's all that exists to you, so that's fine. That's what reality is for each and every one of us. Now, that then leads us to make decisions, what we can and what we can't do, and depending on the experiences that we've had and how they've shaped our self-perception, decides what we think we can and what we can't do. So an older version of me thought that, yeah, I could work a decent job. I'll make like $50,000 a year working in sales. He was comfortable with that. He'd kind of proven that to himself. He was comfortable there. He knew he could gym. He knew he could party. He knew he could stay in the same environment and be reasonably okay. What he didn't know he could do yet, what he needed misogi for, was he didn't know that he could fight or even overcome the fear of getting in the ring or starting a business or running a marathon or making $1 million or fucking a 10 out of 10 girl. Those things were all foreign, all scary. Now, what Misogi does, when you add Misogi into this, it builds a new self-perception, a new confidence, and that rebuilds how you see the rest of your life, changing the things that you think you can and the things you can't do, which over time, with one big challenge a year, turns you into a completely different man. It creates a new self. Each life challenge births a new version of you, a new copy that's now got this solid evidence inside of his mind that he could do something that he previously didn't think he could do, maybe something that other people could not do. And he now takes on life using his new abilities. And the goal of Misogi each year is to never settle and to never run from challenge, because challenge is where we grow. Each challenge we overcome, and there's infinite numbers, turn us into a new and stronger version of ourselves. And thinking about it in this one concept of one thing per year, something so scary that if you do it, the rest of the 364 days will be easy because you did that one thing. And the way you perceive yourself will change forever and gradually change your life, because your greatest challenges are your greatest gifts. I'm just going to run you through quickly how I've used Misogi to change my life, and you might be able to use some of these ideas for your own Misogi, for your own challenge per year that you can set up to really start pushing the boundaries of who you are as a man. So one of the first ones I did was I did a fight. And you guys probably seen me, I've had a few fights now. Saw me maybe have my pro fight, you might watch the YouTube series on that. But well before this is little 18-year-old Jack. What had happened here was, when I was younger, I used to do a lot of drama, acting. I was in drama academy, or like little drama school I went to on the weekends. And there was a girl I quite liked there. And she was nice. We flirted with each other. She seemed to like me as well. But I remember there was some situation, some guys hanging around outside the drama class. And I made a comment, something like, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." A classic, like 14-year-old Jack being all chivalrous. And she said something that changed me as a man at 14. She said, "You couldn't do anything against those guys. You're too nice. You're too kind. Like, you can protect us. You're not the guy to do that." And that made me feel very bad, because I'd always viewed myself internally as a hero. And I realized in that moment that outside in the real world, my internal state was not being reflected. And I had no proof, no evidence to back it up, and it knocked my confidence a little bit. I'd also been beaten. After that, I also got beaten up outside of a pub. It was my own fault, but still, I didn't like the feeling. And so I signed up for my first fight, my first boxing fight at 18 years old, and I trained with a load of men that were much older, white-collar affair. And this fight changed me. I was no longer a young man after that. I was no longer kind of as naive to the world. I lost this fight, actually. I ended up against a very experienced opponent. My opponent dropped out last minute. I lost on points in that fight, which was another thing I had to go through. But that Misogi, that big challenge that I didn't think I could do at 18, changed me as a man. It now made me think, wow, I've done 12 sparring sessions leading up to this fight. I've got in the ring with a grown man, 35 years old, and held my own in there. And it changed a key essential part of what I could and couldn't do. I then went on to do another fight, MMA, which I won, which backed up that confidence again. Oh yeah, you can win a fight. I had a Muay Thai fight as well in the UK before I left to Thailand, which I won. And then I had a pro boxing match. It was another Misogi, another push of the level. Can you fight at pro? Can you go in there with an audience? Can you go in there with the pressure? And I lost that fight. But it's okay, because each time it pushes you. I knew that I could do it. I knew I could get in there, and I knew I made mistakes. It means I can do it again. It changed my perception of who I am. It also damaged my ego a little bit, which is probably not the worst thing in the world for someone like me. And I'll do it again. And that's one that I recommend every man does. It's some form of fight, and ideally a life of martial arts, or bringing that in as a life of martial arts, even whether it's inter-clubs, which are like little events at your boxing club. Doesn't have to be massive, big events. Doesn't have to be super dangerous. But just something that you're shit scared to do, like I was, that now changes your perception of yourself. I'm never afraid to fight. And that's one of the most important things you can be as a man, is not afraid to fight, not afraid to defend yourself. I've been punched in the face numerous times. I've trained boxing on and off I'd be a lot better if I continued doing it regularly, but on and off since I was 18, I've had hundreds and hundreds of rounds of sparring. I'm not afraid to be punched in the face. And that's very important. That changes your perception of who you are and how you act in the world and the confidence you exude. Another one, I call it Surprise Attack. There's a little video here that I'll play. Let me just give you a bit of context. So that was me at 20 something in the UK when I worked my 9 to 5. And I read David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. And I realised I wasn't pushing myself hard enough, obviously. I was drinking and just working my 9 to 5. I was very relaxed and just doing my thing, but not pushing myself at all. And I decided one morning when I was off work that I was going to go out and run a marathon. It was one of the hottest days in England. I was going to run it with no training at all. I'd never run anywhere near a marathon, which you'll see in this video. This is a video I took back then. This was my time over here on the screen. But I went and ran a marathon. Basically, so everybody knows, I've never run a marathon before. Never run a half marathon either, actually. So today's a first. I was such a shy little guy back then. It's so funny the way I talk and the way you change when you rack up these experiences. I was so shy, I was so insecure. I wasn't like this when I was born. You become this, so don't be worried. You become it through substantial challenge over and over again. You become a version that you look in the mirror and you start to respect. And I ran that marathon in 4.5 hours. A few of my toenails fell off, and it was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. And after that moment, I became a man in my head that could run a marathon on a moment's notice with no training, that I had the mental determination to do that. That made massive changes in my life because I thought, if I can do that, what else can I do? I mean, that was okay. It was hard, but it wasn't that hard. What else could I do? What could I do in business? What could I do with my life? And I turned that into a podcast. A lot of you don't know about that. I started a podcast called Limitless Podcast with my friend Casper when I was working my 9 to 5, and around COVID time, we did 10 episodes, and I was scared of that. The first time I put myself on camera, it didn't work out. I had to go back to work after COVID, and I didn't have the time for it. But it was another thing that made me think, okay, you can do this. You're all right on the camera. New lands. Another one of my masogis was, let's get rid of this cushy life, $50,000 a year, girlfriend, apartment, all that. Let's get rid of all of that. Let's scare the shit out of ourselves and move to a place we've never been, in a tropical country where you don't speak the language, and let's try and do social media. And that really changed me. That really changed me. There was no going back after that. I'd seen too much. That's what Misogi can do. It can show you too much of who you can be, and you'll never be satisfied now you know your potential. And that's what it was. I went to Thailand, as many of you know, and it ended up changing my life. And I went there alone and scared as looking back, a very naive and immature young fella. And that Misogi completely changed who I was. And I had to learn to make money for myself, relying on myself, build a business, and the rest is history. And there's another section here I've called acceleration. It doesn't all have to be crazy big challenges like this, but there was one after I'd been to Thailand. I was living in Koh Samui, which is an island, and it's very relaxed, very chill. I was kind of like, you make 10, 20 grand a month there, you're kind of king of the island. It was awesome. But I went to a mastermind in Bangkok that was being run by a business guy. And I went into his condo, and the mastermind was run there, and he had this massive sky view, like top floor penthouse condo with open plan out to the outside, elevator straight up into the room. And it was one of the first times I've been in a room of guys that were killing it, that were doing big numbers, over $100,000 a month, some of them multi-millionaires. And I saw the way this guy lived, an older guy, and it just told me, I can't remember too much of what I learned at that mastermind, but the most essential thing was the way it changed my mindset forever. It showed me what was possible. It was that challenge, that uncomfortable situation of being around guys where you're no longer the big fish, you're now the small fish, and what that did to me. And 6 months later, I'd increased my business to $100,000 profit a month from about 20,000, and I'd moved into the city of Bangkok, into my own penthouse apartment with my own elevator in the room. And that's what these things do to you. That's what life challenge does to you. So I implore you all, it's just a quick video, but I implore you to plan a Misogi each year, something that pushes the boundaries in your mind of what you can do. And then you do that for the next 20 years. There's 20 crazy experiences, 20 stories to tell, and 20 chances to become a new person. I really think that's an awesome thing to live for. And I'll be planning my next one soon. But also, if you want to be a part of something similar to the mastermind I went to, I have just released the mastermind in Miami. It's a very small event. It's very close-knit. You have to jump on a call with me first, just because you'll be living with me in a villa, so I have to see that we'll vibe and stuff and you're not a total weirdo. All the spaces might be gone now, but if you are interested, check out my Instagram, because I am going to the USA, by the way, going to the land of the free, and I'll be running an event there in a villa. Be based around becoming the man you want to be, building a personal brand. It's for higher level guys, so if you're one of those, check it out. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Go and build a Misogi. Enjoy yourselves. I'll see you on the next one.